Left the ball. Sorry, guys. Going live was the fastest way I could talk about this. Breaking news as of this morning by FLO Rugby. The Varsity Cup, at least in its previous rendition, looks kaput. It's about that time of the year where, teams are required to, say, hey, I'm going to do this, which is kind of weird, but it's, college rugby and it's not NCAA rugby and it's run by whatever. So, is Cal, the power behind the Varsity Cup, has declared to enter the D1A pathway. Dartmouth is a D1AA team, and they have declared to go through the Ivy and play in the D1AA rugby national pathway. The D1AA national pathway is interesting in that there is a fall national champion and a spring national champion, and then there is a unification game. Weird, I know. So Navy, they've declared for D1A. So if there's none of these teams, what goes forward? Well, I guess nothing, really. And without Cal is the brand in rugby. Then you had BYU, then you have Utah, then you have, Lindenwood. But Lindenwood's not really a known name outside of the rugby space. So where do we go forward? Well, without Cal, who's sticking around? During the summer, United World Sports was shopping the television rights for the Varsity Cup. Haven't heard much about that. So I guess UWS and Cal have decided to part ways. What does that mean for you, the rugby fan? What does that mean for college rugby going forward? So, the Varsity Cup was okay. I liked it. The idea, which was take the top 16 programs in the nation that are willing to commit the resources, similar to Cal, but there was only like 4 programs out of 16 that was committing the same amount of resources as Cal. And, that didn't mean they were near as good. So the march forward is, hey, we have a unified path for the national champion in D1A rugby. Now, let's get around to the division overall. What is the Liberty Conference doing in D1A? Because they are going to play in the fall, but then not participate in the national championship pathway in the spring. So in my eyes, they should drop down to D1AA and, play in the fall national championship. And maybe that's what they'll do next year. I don't know. However, you can't have a whole conference. I think the Liberty Conference has 12 teams. I'm not sure, but it's a lot. What are we doing here? Pushing rugby forward. How do we push rugby forward? Well, we stopped competing with football. That's it. So we have the death of the Varsity Cup. Sucks. It was actually okay. But we have a unified D1A national champion. So we're not questioning who's better, St. Mary's or Cal. So we're good with that. Then we go into the playoff picture. What does that mean? Well, all the teams that will revert to their conference play and will play in the national pathway. So UCLA, ASU was there, but they got removed last year. Other teams, let's look at this. I think West Point. So it's just it's just crazy to me that, hey, we did this. It was an interesting idea, but it just wasn't there. You had another team, Clemson. Clemson's building towards something. They're pushing they're going to build a $10 million facility next year. So they're going to be up there. But they're still, like, their level of competitiveness is not Cal. Dartmouth, like I said, they're a D1AA team. West Point's pretty good. They're pretty solid. I mean, so they'll compete in D1A with Navy. Penn State commits, they're one of the teams that push their resources as far as they can go. BC, I don't know, man. Then you had Central Washington fielding a Varsity Cup team, but I think they're really more of a D1AA or even a D2 school when it comes to playing everybody else. Then that leaves OU. And who's this? Who would that? I don't know what team that was. There's some. Let me go. Utah Valley. They're pretty good, but they just joined the Rocky Mountain as an associate member. So I think they're going to be pushing towards, the D1A pathway. And it's just really weird that you have all these random teams in the Varsity Cup so that you could have made 16 so that you could sell, to NBC. But it wasn't the 16 best. If you paid attention to Notre Dame last year, they ran around and, they went on a 3-game tour here in Arizona and they got beat pretty handily by every team. But then you look at how they're playing this year and they're doing pretty well. But so good idea, control the revenues away from USAR because you don't think they're giving you your fair share. And you can get more money by building a TV product based around the 16 best rugby teams in the United States. Well, it wasn't the 16 best rugby teams in the United States, and you only had 2 name brands when it came to rugby itself. And with that, they were gone. So now the next move forward for collegiate rugby is, as I've said before, a realignment. Where your resources go is what level you play at. If you're, committing, the school in your alumni group is committing D3 level resources, then you go play in NSCRO. That's just how it is. Some of these guys that play in D1AA and even D2 don't belong there. And some teams in D1A don't belong there either. So, again, there needs to be a realignment. And we need to stop playing in the fall. Because football, man, know your geography. And our geography shows that there is no gap from September to December. The gap opens in January and is at its widest in February and March. You got to claim that. If you don't claim that, then, we won't grow at that level and at the youth level either. So that's what I got for Varsity Cup being no more. Sort of bad news, but actually good news because it'll bring all of the schools back together. And as long as the Liberty just goes down to D1AA or decides to play in the spring, it'll be better. You got to choose. Play with everybody else or play in the pathway that allows you to do a national championship-like thing in the winter. So, and that's the Strobro on the hook, signing off.